right, welcome back to Freedom Hawk Live. We are in the studio again today with Anna. Say hello.
Hi, Dean.
Anna. And Andrew is back again as well.
What's
So we've
going
got
on,
the
guys?
whole gang here. And today we've got a lot of things to talk about as usual. It's been another busy week. And so hit that like button. Please subscribe to our channel and feel free to share it with your friends. We're going to get into it with recently we all have been watching some of the Hollywood stuff, and there's been some really interesting movies come out. We went to see the Civil War movie on Friday.
Yeah, that was a somber realization.
You want to
Cautionary tale.
You want to tell us a little bit about your thoughts on it, Andrew?
Yeah, sure. I'll dive right in. So it's interesting. The movie doesn't really say what caused the Civil War, and it really doesn't take a political stance one way or another, right or left, moderate, what have you. It basically just crashes you right into the middle of the Civil War that's clearly been going on for a while, because the Western Front, or I think it's Western Forces in the movie, they have already pretty much destroyed the government organization of the military. And it's essentially that, the Pentagon has kind of deteriorated and everything is kind of fallen apart. Law and order's gone.
So it's basically the final days of
the
federal government.
Yeah, the federal government.
After after some period of civil war, and they don't really tell us exactly how long, but it's basically the end of the federal government. You have all these warring factions, and what was, I think, really interesting about it to all of us was how, as you mentioned, it did one thing really well. It doesn't really take any particular political stance.
No,
they're basically saying this is how ugly it would be. This is the reality
it's
of
just
a
like,
modern civil war.
This is enough. We're standing our ground. We're going to take over.
Yeah. And so there were some scenes in there where it was very ambiguous, even which side amongst the many factions fighting the Civil War, very ambiguous. And I think the ultimate moral of the movie was that it's ugly and war is survival, and sometimes even the sides and the ideologies sort of go out the window,
right?
Because when things escalate to a certain point, everybody's just trying to survive.
Then it's just a matter of whoever has the resources and weapons can survive.
It really got us all talking, though, also, and this is something that we've discussed on several occasions ourselves, is how Hollywood influences and the messaging in the movies. And there's a lot of movies coming out right now that are a little concerning because of the messaging around, end of civilization, end of certain,
end of our country,
end of culture, end of our end of the United States in particular.
And to dive into that more, it's interesting what countries are involved with financing those movies, like China.
Well, very much so, but you have to wonder if there's more money. But I think China's the most famous. I mean, several notable
China's
movies
been financing Hollywood for a decade.
Well, several notable movies have had their scripts changed to
reflect positivity towards China, or show China in a positive light
for Chinese audiences, and also to meet like regulatory things related to Chinese cinema.
Yes,
things they're not allowed to show, like things like zombies and skeletons and stuff, aren't really supposed to be shown in certain contexts in Chinese media. So. Those things, but also writing entire characters in.
Oh yeah. There's a documentary. I don't remember the network it's on or where it's distributed on what platform, but I watched it, and it talks about how the Chinese market has influenced so many different distributors to producing content and rewriting scripts, like you said, to show China in a certain light, or show them go to a certain country versus this to go to China to save them. It's really interesting how many movies we've actually seen that are big mainstream blockbusters.
So
that
one
have
of
been
them was
influenced by
Iron
that.
Man 3, where they wrote in a Chinese doctor to save Tony Stark's life in Iron Man 3. And then there were some other movies where the Chinese government wanted, people are going on vacation, and they said, well, why? They paid some money, and that vacation became they're going on vacation in China.
Chinese location. Yep.
Yeah. Superimposing these, China as a place people want to visit, or a world superpower, or having intelligent, scientists and doctors. There's certainly an image that they want to
Portray,
both create and maintain.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's very strictly regulated.
So this begs the question: does art imitate life, or life imitate art?
I've always said that movies imitate life.
Absolutely.
The movies imitate life?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not just art, but I mean, art does too, to a certain extent. However, there's more psychological methods that they use in movies to manipulate and augment what we think.
Exactly.
So the other movie that came out recently was the Obama movie, we call it, but it's Leave the World Behind on Netflix.
Yeah, that's another cautionary warning tale.
That one also had some clear propaganda, but it also maybe had some warnings about what could be in our future.
They're basically showing us what they're planning on doing.
Yeah, they always show us their plan as they're executing it in real life.
Yeah, so when I watched it, I didn't know that it was produced by Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama.
I didn't either until you told me.
You didn't know it till I told you. And apparently
they
he
keep
not
that
only
kind of hush-hush.
Right, well, it wasn't that hush hush because
People were talking about it around Christmas time.
They advertised it, and
I don't know what I was doing.
But not only was he a producer, but he actually gave his input as to the reality of some of the situations in the movie. And now
it was ugly.
Well, and
as sophomorish as it was, the movie itself. I mean, because it was so.
There were a lot of anecdotes and cliches.
It was so two-dimensional. The acting was horrible. The movie itself, the storyline was horrible.
It was a very parallel story screenplay, and it was very
It was cartoonish.
Yeah, but ultimately the message and how it got across was, it was very scary, and it worked. I know a lot of people that were talking about it and said they won't buy a Tesla anymore.
I will never buy a Tesla.
Well, I mean,
or any electric car, but
they're surveillance devices.
Yes.
Yeah, the Tesla scene was kind of wild. It was one of those scenes where whenever it first happened, I was like, "That's weird."
But so there's some people out there on the internet that have actually gone through and myth busted to see if anything is probable, plausible, or just Hollywood fiction.
Yeah.
And everything that happened in that movie could happen.
Well, starting with what?
Starting with the internet.
I would say directed energy weapons.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything used to manipulate large groups of people.
Well, we saw energy weapons at work this week with the fireworks show in Israel.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they'll take down their missiles.
There may have been energy weapons used to defend some of those
I'm
drones.
sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they take down their antennas and their communications arrays.
Right.
Yeah. I'd say the other thing that's highly probable is our power grid going down.
Huge.
I mean, Dennis Quaid did a documentary series called, I believe it's called Grid Down.
Something. I know he did something.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name
and I
of
mean, it is another cautionary tale, but it's a documentary, kind of a warning to everybody that our power grid needs hardened.
Yeah.
It's very vulnerable.
And it's not a left or right leaning debate. It's our power grid needs hardened. It's a fact because we saw what happened in Texas a few years ago with that blizzard that took out the entire grid.
Well, that's why every time the Fed wants money, Congress passes an infrastructure bill,
Right.
because it's very benign. It's like, yeah, we want our roads fixed. Yeah, we want our transportation, to function properly. But then they don't spend the money for that.
But,
they,
yeah,
they send it
and that's the
overseas,
thing.
and they buy things that we don't need with
and
it, or they
people
just give it
think-
away. And then what do? A few years later, people are complaining, oh, our bridges are deteriorating and our roads
Right.
are deteriorating.
Right.
Let's pass another infrastructure bill and shove it full of stuff.
Yeah, it's a misappropriation.
And this is what happens every few years. They pass
Right.
an infrastructure bill. I mean,
But
I think in the last 10 years, they passed, about half a dozen of them, it seems like.
well,
How many
you know,
times is a government going to shut down? How many times?
Well, it's interesting.
Well, that's what they always threaten.
I know.
So,
They always
here-
threaten that. We're going to shut the government down if we don't pass
Please shut it down.
omnibus.
Please.
So the big argument is about the hardening for the grid. It's not only like the physical mechanical infrastructure, but it's also the electrical IC components, microprocessors, all the big IT network solutions that are powering the grid,
Right.
and all the servers. Because what's happening is if an EMP hits somewhere, right, it could take out the entire grid, kind of
Exactly.
like, something from like a Die Hard movie, like Live Free or Die Hard or something.
Well, I think that was, just a few months ago, there was the concern over, whether Russia had weapons in space.
Oh yeah, that would be checkmate.
And they called a national security
But they
emergency meeting
they swept
last
that
minute.
under the rug pretty quickly.
Oh, that got swept under the rug pretty
you.
quick, but it came out pretty quick too that it had to do with nukes in space,
But
or
nothing-
or possibly EMPs.
But we
or
heard
some
about
other
it. We heard
weapons
about
in
it
space.
for a few days in the news cycle,
And it's gone.
and
Well,
then it's
because they
gone.
always have some drama to throw at us to cover it up.
But what I'm saying is, what happened? Where did it go?
Good
oh,
question.
it didn't go
happening?
anywhere. It's
More
still
stuff
there.
happened. So
No, I'm
it
sure.
got buried.
Yeah, and we launch rockets all the time
Right?
with heavy payloads with top secret materials in them, and satellites that go into space.
Yeah, I think
That's what the Space Force does.
but the biggest thing about this movie is that Obama produced it in the first place. It's like, why is a former U.S. president?
What?
Yeah, what's the angle?
What is the what is
angle
the
They're
angle
telling
there?
us they are that arrogant that they're telling us what they're planning on doing to us.
So here's my thought really is in the movie they talk about, so you have like the super wealthy, right? And then you have the middle classes, you have the lower classes, people that, that makes up most of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the fact that there are people above Washington, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and even above the deep state,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or the organized agenda of what maneuvers this country, right?
Well, I mean, that was one of the points in that movie. They said the best the super wealthy can hope for is a warning.
Right.
And now you see people like Zuckerberg building like this giant
Bomb
bunker
shelter.
facility in the Hawaiian Islands.
But wait, hold on.
Complete
That's a conspiracy theorist thing.
No, that's not.
No, he's,
No. My point is that why is he building a bunker if that's a conspiracy theorist thing?
oh yeah.
But he's building a bunker complete with like food
Yeah,
production.
to be able to live
Right.
down there. Yeah, I
To be able to
get that.
survive.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it goes back to the point of like, okay, so the people in charge of the country, and for the majority of people that rely, although not so much anymore, on the well-being of the country, is in the hands of this establishment, right, in Washington. Who's above that? Who actually is pulling the trigger on the switch
Rothschilds?
inside like Dr. Evil's laboratory?
I don't think anybody is. I think it's just this leftist globalist collective.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think there's any one person over all of it. I think it's just a
we go.
globalist
A very
collective.
small group of
And
people.
this globalist collective are all of a like mind, and they are all acting to bring about the same things. They have the same goals, the same ambitions,
Right.
and they're doing what's within their power to make that happen. And I think it's just this collective mindset.
I agree with you.
Is
But it's a very-
very widespread, unfortunately.
But it's
it's
a very few number of people.
You could even say systemic. Well, a few number of people in the right in the right places of power and authority
Right.
to
Right.
to make those changes. And these are people, when you talk about the deep state, what is the deep state? Because some people will tell you the deep state doesn't exist. Well, that's not true.
We know it does.
But those are people who don't know what it is.
Right.
When you're talking about the deep state, you're talking about bureaucrats who are unelected members of our government, okay, unelected government employees who have been in their roles in government, whether it's agency directors or whatever they do, for a very long time. And they have watched one president after another come and go. They've watched one Congress after another come and go.
But they've also
they have stayed there, and they know everything going on.
They know all the ins and outs.
Yeah, because they're the ones probably that brief. I'm kind of speculating here.
Absolutely.
But they're the ones that say, hey, this is how it goes, Mr. President. This is how it goes, Mr. Congress.
Yes, so when you talk about deep state, the deep state is exactly that. It's the lifelong government employees who have been constant.
Not even government.
Right.
Well, not even. Yeah, I mean,
because
there's government contractors. Like Lockheed and Raytheon, where they've been around and they've been involved.
But we're talking about.
But we're talking about the global reach of the deep state,
right?
Because it's not just the U.S.
It's not just the
It's
American
also
government.
I don't want to say it on YouTube television, but the World Economic Forum.
Well, yeah, the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization, and the IMF. I mean, there's several organizations that are involved in the global.
Yes.
Like I said, it's a globalist.
But it goes back to the theme of you'll own nothing.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a globalist collective. This is not just a U.S. thing. And that's where these worldwide organizations meet. And then they go back to their countries and they
disseminate the information, and then they put it into practice.
But Davos just.
But it's a systemic.
They were just in Davos.
But why ultimately do these countries give in and play these games? What causes them to do it? Is it the climate change agenda?
No. It's those bloodlines.
Yeah.
That we're talking about. Those, I believe it's 13 bloodlines.
But that goes back, doesn't that? Would this be considered a conspiracy theory?
If you're going to bring it up, you better be ready to talk about it.
And explain it, because I'm over this theory bullshit.
Well, who invented the term conspiracy theory?
Yeah, the elite.
The alphabet soup. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're part of it. So,
the intelligence community invented that term.
I believe that.
To discredit and make people seem
crazy. But you know what? I'm crazy as a fox. And I see it. It's if you don't see it, you have your head up your butt. That's all I can. If you don't see what's going on,
I'm sorry,
you have your head up your butt.
Oh, absolutely. But since 2021,
what's going on that people need to see?
What the government is doing, what they're doing to us, the two-tiered justice system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in action this week with Trump.
That's happening, and it's that curtain is being pulled.
Oh, it's being pulled away. The veil is lifting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And people are starting to see this.
Oh, people are waking up.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Definitely think
I want to
so.
bitch slap some people. I'm sorry. Oops.
No,
are we in the 20?
But there's definitely this globalist agenda, and like I said, I don't think there's any one person. There's probably not even a small number of people. I think it's just there is a segment of the global population that has bought into all this stuff.
But,
yes,
but
they collaborate, and they're all part of this similar organizations. And
but they take all these ideas and they package it up. And they throw it at us as this agenda, and they don't understand.
But it's collective. It's a collective effort that requires a lot of people to bring about this change.
And more people are waking up. Yeah. But we still need more people to wake up.
But ultimately, at the core of it is a way of thinking that is not consistent with social order. It's not consistent with things like jurisprudence.
Right.
It's a way of thinking where feelings are all that matters, or what I want is all that matters.
Okay.
So it's
which is a dangerous line of thinking.
Dangerous.
Yeah, it's quite narcissistic. Okay. And it's very idealistic because the facts don't matter. It's really just about feelings. And we saw it this week with Trump's court case on the J6 stuff,
right?
And of course, all of his legal issues seem to be coming together at the same exact time.
Oh, because
they're still shocker.
Yeah, shocker, right?
Wait, is it 2024? What month is it? Oh, it's April.
But because
when's the election?
they're also arguing over the Stormy Daniels case, and it's like, but she even issued a letter.
It's all.
She even issued a letter saying
that
nothing happened, but they're all after him over how a payment was supposedly made,
which was made by Michael Cohen, who was the one who was actually having,
But there's clearly
he might actually be the one.
He's the one.
There's clearly as you said, this parallel justice system, parallel legal system, parallel rules and laws. What's good for thee is not for me, kind of thing.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Our political elite aren't bound by the same rules. Our government's not bound by the same rules. And
the first son isn't bound by those rules.
And we're all.
Yeah, I said it.
That's a whole nother thing.
We're all separated by whichever side you're on soon. Determines which rules apply to you.
Black SUV pulls up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Men in black.
But
so if I'm not here next week.
Yeah, Vanny disappears.
Well, but that's no secret. I mean, the Hunter Biden stuff is no secret. It's out there. They're just
not doing anything about it.
Yeah, our legal system's just letting it slide.
But it's also because the mainstream media.
Burisma, who cares?
I mean, had it been Trump's
the big guy, don't worry about it.
If that came out and
had it been Trump's kids, it would have been totally.
They would have been dragged through the
Trump's
streets.
Administration. CNN would break.
That's my point.
And they would have paraded everybody through the streets if it was anybody from Trump's family.
Heads would have rolled. Yeah, I mean, but that goes back to the manipulation, right? The movies, the TV, the mainstream media, right?
Well, look
it's
what
all
they
connected.
Did. Look what they did to General Flynn over a phone call. Look what they did to Rudy Giuliani. They have smeared these people.
And
Peter Navarro.
I mean, ruin families,
right? But people swear it's interesting because since over the past 2 years, everybody on the liberal side of things takes the news ad verbatim. They everything they say is like the rule, and nothing can differentiate. And Trump is bad Trump, and it's just like.
Well, now we have this Homeland Secretary. Mayorkas, who Homeland Security.
By the way, was born in Cuba. He was born in Cuba.
It doesn't matter where he's from.
Yes, it does. This man was born in Cuba, and he came and he was brought to the United States
as an
immigrant because of the Cuban government.
That's all fine, but it's completely irrelevant to the fact that he's not doing his job, which is to secure our borders.
No, the border.
And protect this country.
He's
doesn't matter
a
where
traitor.
he's born.
He's a complete traitor to this country.
Well, I mean, we're kind of bouncing around here, but the reason I bring it up is because his impeachment. But
he's just taking his marching orders.
The House,
whoever gives them.
The House of Representatives impeached him, and the Senate did something that they've never done, which is they are not going to pursue the articles of impeachment.
Right, they're not going to pursue them,
which the House has sent to the Senate.
Yeah.
So they're just going to let him. They're just going to let him walk.
They're just doing whatever the hell they want to do.
Oh yeah.
And screw the Constitution.
But it's interesting because you've got all those men and women on the border trying to keep the border in order, right? And they're not getting any support except for maybe Texas and the Rangers and everything. And it's like they're it's like a war zone down there.
But it doesn't take a whole lot to look at the situation and know that the borders aren't secure. There's there's videos of all these people coming into the country undocumented.
It's not radical news.
You don't know if they have criminal history. You don't know if they're sick or if they're bringing disease.
No, they do know that a lot of the people coming in are part of the cartels.
And Mayorkas is the number one person in charge.
Yeah, he's
solving that issue.
Right.
So the impeachment should be a cut and dry, black and white thing. You're either doing the job or you're not doing the job.
So where's that at right now?
Well, the Senate killed it, and I'll add that they killed it only because a Republican senator from Alaska abstained from voting.
Why?
Question.
Follow that trail.
Yeah, but one rhino from Alaska abstained from voting, and everybody else voted party lines. Go figure, because that's how everything is done anymore, which is ridiculous. And what disappoints me the most.
Well, nobody thinks for themselves anymore.
Exactly.
Nobody actually thinks about the repercussions of their voting decisions.
They don't stop to think about what's beyond this.
Yeah. No, they just want to play in the sandbox of their party lines, and
and that's
they just want to stay in their chair.
They're not doing what's best for this country.
On.
Yeah.
They're not doing what's best for this country.
Absolutely not.
Well, they haven't done
and I
what's
say
best
that
for
about
this
both
country
sides, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, it's both sides.
I agree.
Yeah, it's both sides.
It's both sides. It's the uniparty.
Because, for example, the Rhino Republican abstained from voting.
Yeah. Basically
from impeaching the DHS.
Yeah. And it was that one vote that made the difference, that one non-vote.
Who was it?
It was a lady, I forget her. It was like Lisa
from
or
Alaska.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Murkowski?
I don't know. AK is Alaska, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was Alaska.
Yes. It's not Arkansas.
Well, there's only 2 senators.
Pretty sure it's Murkowski.
That sounds maybe familiar. I have to look this up because when was this?
This was yesterday or today.
Okay, so it's still.
It was in the last couple of days.
Right. So it's interesting. Like, why? What was the motive to not?
I don't know. Not taking a side, maybe. That's the only thing I can think is.
Well, Alaska's got borders.
Well, I mean, they were just voting on whether or not to hold the trial.
Right.
So it's not like you were condemning the man. You were just saying, "Hey, we're going to hear this out and look at the evidence."
Well, maybe
they voted.
Playing devil's advocate, maybe she wanted something, or they wanted something else.
The Senate chose not to even look at the impeachment case. That's what they ultimately did. They said, "We're not even going to look at this," and that's where the injustice is, right?
Yes.
At least hear it out.
They don't care. They want what they want.
Yeah.
Despite anything.
There were 100
at any cost.
Did you just see this? There's 108 people arrested during Columbia University protests.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. They had the
sorry.
I know that's supposed to be background stuff. So
I know, but I just saw 108 people arrested. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, that's supposed to be background. Yeah. All
right, never mind.
No, it's okay. Yeah, don't look up there. Don't look up there. Distraction. Yeah, no. They had the protests at Columbia University, and there was another one, but they've had.
Is that about immigration?
No, it's about Palestine and Gaza. Yeah, they're on that and.
Well, that's a thing.
Well, we have global conflicts, and that kind of goes back to the Obama movie. It's like you have these movies coming out talking about global conflict. You know, the Fallout series came out, which is entirely about the destruction of humanity, and there's conflicts all over the world. It's not just Israel. Okay,
but okay, I just want to interject. I'm sorry, but there was a 911 outage in several states yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Florida was one of them.
Well, that's the same thing that happened a couple months ago with the AT&T outage.
Right. But I believe...
They
swept that under the rug real quick.
Right.
It caused the 911 centers to go down then. So, I mean, we're constantly under cyber attack. But no, the global conflicts, I want to stay on this because we've already kind of talked about the Obama movie. We got a lot to cover today. But the global conflicts, this is something that we need people to understand because it's not just Israel. Okay, our government's given money to Israel and Ukraine, like
we're financing it all
left and right. But there's the global conflict in Guyana over oil rights in the Caribbean.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big one.
Nobody's talking about it.
No, nobody is.
That one could potentially.
That's because it actually is a huge problem.
Right.
Well, it's a huge problem because the group of Shell. It was Shell and Hess and Exxon.
Yeah.
But they discovered an oil deposit off the coast of Guyana that would make Guyana like the 7th largest oil producer in the world.
Yeah, that'd be a disruption.
Yeah.
And that would bring a lot of money to Guyana.
Huge.
They don't want that.
Well, Venezuela wants it.
But here's the thing. Hold on.
So Venezuela is trying to take it from
Hold on. I'm going to go down the conspiracy theory. Don't put
in the rabbit hole. Here we go.
Go ahead.
Does U.S. have a interest in controlling that government too?
Well,
they have an interest in controlling any government.
Well, that was an open. That was a rhetorical
Can I answer your question? No.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want Venezuela to have it.
Right.
Our government doesn't want Venezuela to have it.
Venezuela.
So what do you think is going to happen?
Speaking
what
of
do you think is going to happen?
You heard that they want to put in the sanctions again, right? On the oil.
And this is how.
Oh well, there you go.
This is how far Venezuela has gone. Venezuela, because they're a communist country and they dictate what people hang in their homes, they have edited their maps to include this whole western region of Guyana, which if they have the coastal part of Western Guyana, that includes their exclusive economic zone out in the ocean, which has this oil deposit in it. So they have edited their maps to include half of Guyana, and required the citizens of Venezuela to hang those maps in their homes in every government building.
Well,
so they are already saying this is our land and we're taking it.
Going to turn into a Netflix
and they have to
show.
Oh no, it gets better. They have to go through Brazil because the only road to that land goes through Brazil.
Oh my gosh.
So those sanctions were being put in place today.
That's only one of the global,
as far as I know.
Okay,
that's only one of the global conflict zones. The other ones, South Sudan is still in civil war. Yemen is technically still in civil war, even though the Houthis are shooting at us. And you've got Myanmar has a civil war.
Oh yeah, no, I mean
which has 12 different factions.
There's 12 different countries in a civil war right now.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on other than just Israel and just Ukraine, but those are the ones that are going to be used.
Those are the ones going to be used to manipulate.
Yes, and to fund everything else.
And to fund everything.
It's all.
Those wars have been going on for 2,000 years.
Right. But my point is that we're only hearing about the ones that
they want us to know
that drive the monetary initiative of
exactly
absolutely
of getting money to the special interests.
Well, it's the military industrial complex.
Of course,
that's part of it. I mean, that's part of it, but
no, that's all of it. I think. Because that's wrapped into the government. That's wrapped into the lobbyists. That's wrapped. There it is, the deep state.
Yeah, I mean, well, and our politicians all invest in those companies. So
you can draw you can draw a Venn diagram and just put all that right in the middle of everything.
Exactly,
because it shares everything.
Yeah. So
we're funding both sides of that war. I think.
We're funding all of them. Which one? We're funding both sides of every war.
I think we are.
Well, the Iranian drones they said came from China. Or manufactured it by China.
So everything's mate in China.
So they were probably like DJI.
Yeah,
did they have the made in China? Did they have the made in China tag?
Guangzhou.
Yeah, but there's a lot behind some of this stuff, and I'm more concerned. The reason it's important to me is when we look at what's going to happen here at home. And you have all these people pouring in from the border.
I mean, it's already happening.
These sleeper cells are about to be woken up.
Well, yeah.
Like the reality of Iran invading America in a traditional sense, they don't have enough boats.
Yeah. Well, nobody's going to invade us in a traditional sense.
Right.
There's not going to be a red dawn.
So it's going to be cyber attacks and it's going to be
it's going to happen from within. Change. Because like Annie just said, the cell's already here. Because I've had many different friends, right, with varied backgrounds tell me that the danger, the threat is already in the country. Yeah. And they've been here for years.
Exactly. Well, they're just waiting for orders.
It's in our education system.
Oh, no. Well, it's all
everywhere. It's everywhere in every level of government.
They've infiltrated our businesses to steal technology.
Tell me about your theory of, or maybe we shouldn't talk about this.
No, go ahead.
What was your theory about the centers
Oh, care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not convinced care is community outreach. I'll put it that way.
It's
Okay.
not.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
I mean,
It's
intelligence network, possibly.
I mean, if people think that the embassies across the countries are there just to,
Yeah.
Well,
most
talk to
embassies,
ambassadors
most
and house
embassies are
ambassadors.
intelligence headquarters.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, they're stations.
They perform functions for like citizens traveling to those countries, and you have
Right.
ambassadors
Sure.
that are there, that are headquartered there.
But that's not what all
That's
the
not what
levels
they're
of
there
those
for.
buildings do.
Yeah. But care offices, it's like I would equate the care offices to the Chinese police stations that are all over the country, all over the United States. So you have Chinese police setting up offices in major cities like New York and Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, places where a lot of Chinese immigrants congregate and end up living. And it's normal. I mean, I think it seems normal for immigrants to move to a new place and want to be surrounded by people of a similar culture, similar language, where they can.
Yeah, but we don't set
fit in.
up like a Lakeland Police Department in the
Yeah,
middle
we
of
don't set up a US.
Germany.
Well, we put military bases, so that's what we do.
Well, that's true.
America puts I mean,
All right, bad point. That was.
Yeah, we put military bases.
Yeah, that was.
And we do put embassies. We just call them embassies, and our
We cram everything else in.
Yeah, our intelligence community operates out of those, I would assume. But care, yeah,
It's a real thing.
I'm not convinced that they are a community outreach organization. Like,
They're not.
they only really show up to protest things.
Well, that's what makes me wonder.
And I think it's foreign intelligence. Maybe it's Iranian. Maybe it's a
oh boy.
maybe it's a chimera of different groups. But it surely isn't just a non-profit. Like, what is their purpose? Just to exist? Just to be like, yeah, we're here? No, they have buildings all in
Their purpose is to create chaos.
Every major city in the country has one, if not multiple, care offices.
Kind of like that whole Antifa thing.
In neighborhoods. So, I think they're intelligence networks. That's just me.
I agree.
Thanks, YouTube.
I agree.
Yeah, that one's gonna get us kicked off of YouTube.
It was bound to happen.
So
At some point.
We'll be moving to another platform.
Yeah, speaking of Congress, they've had a few other things in the news, and the biggest one I think is the FISA warrants. Have you followed the warrantless FISA?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Stuff?
Oh yeah. Well,
Do you want to tell us what FISA is, or do you want to talk about it? Or
I mean,
so basically, the FISA.
the way I understand it is that we can do foreign surveillance, or we can do surveillance on foreign people in the United States, or people that are internationally traveled around the country.
No, this is spying on American citizens.
Right, I was getting there.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
so
basically,
under the Patriot Act, when they created the FISA courts,
they could
if you
basically
had
spy
a connection to a
foreign entity
who was suspected to be a terrorist organization, then it allowed through a FISA warrant.
Well, basically, if
it
allowed, DHS or any of the intelligence community deemed you a threat,
or any law enforcement
for any reason,
any law enforcement could spy on American citizens if they were suspected of having, and I think it's like 2 degrees of separation or 3 degrees of separation,
something like that. Yes,
which basically is like everybody.
I mean, ultimately, if you know somebody on social media and you're friends with somebody, or you follow somebody from another country,
but remember too, the FISA courts were also used to spy on President Trump when he was running for president.
So that's interesting, right?
Yeah, that goes back to the Steele dossier and the
that's a whole thing, right? But I mean, they swept that under the rug quick too, didn't they?
Well, that's a good example of like how the FISA thing can get out of control, especially with it being warrantless now.
Right
now, they just go do it.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I don't think they ever stopped.
No,
I think it would be delusional to think they did. I mean, you're kidding yourself if you think they stopped.
I mean, the more surveillance that's happening now is greater than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Well, I mean,
it's the law of communication. It's our cell phones.
Yeah, we all carry a cell phone that listens to us, all day, every day. It listens to what we say, and
they
captures
make all
images
these laws,
of things.
but they make all these laws that things that were legal once are not legal anymore.
Well, it's all social controls.
And you don't know.
Well, and if you've ever read the user and license agreement for Facebook or Instagram or any app, even Google Maps. I mean, Google is one of the biggest spies on your phone that you could ever have. I mean,
absolutely.
That could be a whole podcast. Alphabet.
So you're familiar with ESG, environmental social governance?
Oh yeah.
No.
You're not? Okay.
I'm not.
So environmental social governance is basically the American version of a social credit score.
Oh, okay.
So in China, for instance,
Carbon
you have a
credits,
social
all this
credit
stuff.
score that is a combination of your actual financial credit score with your social score from social media. Do you say hateful things? Do you talk bad about the government? Do you
there goes my social score.
yeah, well that's mine too. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be negative.
So the difference is in the Chinese model, the Chinese Communist Party controls the social credit score system, and it's all kind of it's a
conglomeration.
No, it's a combination of these different factors.
It's like how a FICO score works.
What's happening in America is ESG is being implemented into private business. So instead of the government having to pass all these regulations that in a democratic society we would say we don't really believe in that, we don't want it.
Yeah, right.
Instead, they just pressure businesses to implement it. So for example, banks. The most obvious example of it from the banking world was the MyPillow guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, remember the MyPillow guy got debanked. Mike Lindell, he got debanked, and they said you can't bank here anymore. Kanye West, I think, was one that they said we don't want you to bank with us anymore. And so basically, the bank says we don't like what you put on social media. We don't like what you said on television. We don't like that you were promoting this political candidate or this agenda, and so you can't bank with us anymore.
Yeah,
because you violate our ESG policies.
Oh yeah.
And so this is a widespread thing. We saw it in things like PayPal.
It's still happening.
Where PayPal they tried to slip in some terms of service that said that if you engaged in hate speech on social media,
that's what we were just talking
PayPal
about.
could penalize you
before the podcast.
Oh.
Yep.
And charge you?
Yes. Charge you money because they don't like something you said on a platform that's not even theirs.
Yep.
I mean, that's
a thing.
I can't personally wrap my mind around how someone would ever think that that's okay. But that's why I say this is a problem where we have certain people that think one way and certain people that think another.
Right.
And these people that are pushing this globalist agenda, that are part of this collective globalist liberal mindset, they justify this stuff as okay because they believe they're doing better for the world, better for the environment, better for the society. They don't believe in God, but they believe they're doing better.
I don't know what they believe in.
Yeah,
Satan.
Well, they have this mental image of like this perfect world that they want to live in.
Well, it's utopia because they want to live in utopia, but
they can't.
Well, no, because they're gonna have to break some eggs.
Yeah.
To make that omelet.
Right. And so
and that's where the movie Civil War comes in.
So that's how they're pushing it, and then DEI is part of this, the diversity, equity, inclusion. So basically the premise that certain groups of people are underrepresented, so we will overrepresent them in every form of media and every corner of society. And when you start looking at how that has changed, like our media, film, music, everything.
Oh, it's insane.
Now, minorities aren't minorities anymore. Now, it's okay. Whatever.
Right.
They have a right to be represented,
Well, sure.
But write content around that. This forced DEI basically, to me, is turning all of the stories, particularly in like fiction in media, where every character is just this sort of like gender neutral, racially neutral. They're just bland characters with no flavor.
Well, and then they're starting to objectify the minority.
Well, very much so. I mean, it's like
it's like reverse.
Wait,
yeah. It's
so I'm going to tie DEI into Boeing and what's going on with Boeing.
Well, Boeing and T-Mobile. We have a lot
both of them.
Yeah, Boeing. But I'm going to go with Boeing because I don't know much about T-Mobile. Okay. But as far as the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, BS, what they're doing is they're hiring people who are not mentally capable
of being a pilot,
of working, and these are the people that are putting the planes together.
Well, they're hiring people based on quotas,
right?
But so is the airlines.
But the DEI also has a quota.
Yeah.
Right. So they're hiring these people who are incapable, but just because they are mentally challenged, they need to be hired. So they come on board, and what happens?
Well, they've rejected meritocracy, where people get ahead based on their skills and abilities and
merit.
So
and
now
performance.
let's hire people who are
who check off boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you see that in so many industries now.
Yes, but this is what's happening, and all of a sudden, Boeing is having these issues. What's going on?
Wow.
Well, and that's what happens when an idealistic mindset is in charge of something that needs to be grounded in some reality and some
right.
But I mean, that's the big debate
and
about the U.S. military too.
Absolutely,
there's a lot of positions that people are like, wait a second, we're just checking boxes. Are these individuals really qualified to do this position?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically affirmative action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just repackage with a new name.
Somebody changed the name.
Yeah, and that's what they do. They change the name every few years. It's branding, it's marketing. That's really ultimately all it is. And they repackage the same concepts and try to resell them. And then when they don't work, they start back over with a different name. And now they call it DEI, but this is basically affirmative action all over again. And I'm not. It's this isn't like a anti-racial rant or an anti-anybody rant. It's simply that people.
You should be qualified.
For me, it's an anti-idiot.
If I'm going to fly on an airplane, I want to make sure that whoever built the airplane, I don't care what color their skin is or where they come from.
You want to make sure that they're qualified to do their job.
Or who they sleep with, as long as they know how to build an airplane.
Exactly.
That's all I care about.
But the interesting thing is like it actually makes more segregation by doing that.
But that's what they want.
It creates a perception of it, right?
Point.
It creates a perception.
It creates a perception, which is reality to many people.
That's the whole point, though.
Oh, I know. Well, it's their whole agenda.
Yeah.
By the deep state.
Divide and conquer.
But we see this in, this in film, and a good example of it in the Obama movie, since that is kind of the core, that is the core thread today is the Obama movie. But remember the scene when the father and the daughter, they're sleeping in the basement and they're like, why are we sleeping in the basement of our own house?
Right.
And
they pulled that.
They tried, they were very much trying to play this DEI, like this card that, the other people are evil because they're different from us. Right?
Right. They're renting the house from them.
Have-nots, yeah.
Yeah, well, they were renting the house and then the world ended.
Right.
So now they're just all staying there.
Right.
But that's the thing, because ultimately the have and the have-nots, that won't matter once we get to that point.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like when we get to that point,
it's going to matter. It's going to matter who can shoot better.
Right.
Yeah. Or in that case, like who can work well with others.
I think I can shoot better than an elite.
Well, I mean, the thing is like going back to Civil War, right? That scene with the sniper rifle.
Right.
Like none of that's going to matter. Mm-hmm. Your net worth is not going to help you.
Yeah. Well, and at that point, when society is collapsed, who cares who owned the house and who rented the house? Because their money no longer has value.
It's shelter.
It's just shelter at that point.
That's when they talk about the matrix and the construct, because it's all under a construct of money.
But the media, and in this case, the movie tries to make the audience think that one group is evil,
right,
over the other.
And there's a lot of that going on in our media.
Are you talking about the Obama movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where we...
Well, I'm talking about it. I'm also trying to talk about it in a way where we're not siding with one of the sides over the other than the fact that
But I mean, there is a side that ultimately,
Well, I think
I'd
people,
like to
people
think
can watch it and we'll let them decide that. But you're right. Like yes, I know what you. Yeah,
I mean, I take it. There's no middle ground on that
there's not.
because those people are trying to undo everything that everybody's
Yes.
worked for the past
Right.
Yes.
120 years.
Exactly.
Right.
But I definitely want to encourage people to watch the movie. It's weird. It's a little
As bad as it is, as
so that you understand what we're talking about. But look for these things.
Yeah, and put your comments in the section below and
Of
let
course,
us know what you
always.
think about it, because I'm really interested to see what people's take is
Yeah.
after we bring up all these ideas. And I'm not sure if anybody else has done that.
Let's just say it's not an Academy Award winner. Okay,
But that's a whole
because
nother thing.
The acting sucks. The premise, it's so two dimensional. I can't even. It was so amateurish. The whole movie was so amateurish that I
But
just can't.
that's how Hollywood is now.
Yeah, but it was the Obamas, so that explains a lot. Anyway,
But the Fallout show. Okay, the Fallout show. I think there's definitely
on Netflix.
Yes.
Amazon Prime.
On Amazon Prime, yeah.
Yeah.
We've watched that, and
it's good.
probably the most popular show right now on any network, and it's about a traditional woman that wants to just get married and be a wife
And have kids.
and raise a family, and then it gets ruined by like a degenerate.
Yeah, she leaves the vault.
Yeah,
she
like
goes,
a mob of degenerate, immigrants comes in and like tries to kill everybody in the vault, and they run them off, and she goes out on revenge. But it's
great.
the feminist movement has like pushed this narrative that women have to be like strong and independent and all of these things, and nobody needs a man, and we don't need each other. But all that
I don't
stuff
like
just
that.
pushes society apart.
well, no, but that's their plan
But I
to
think
break
it's-
up
yeah.
families, because if there's
course.
no families, there's no kids. If there's no kids, the population shrinks.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, there's definitely some DEI and like agenda in that show.
But it's but it's satire.
It's satire,
Yeah, it's like
and
satirical.
they're not, the difference between it and the Obama movies. They're not saying, well, because this person looks this way or is this way, they're in this position. Like, it definitely has some like,
Oh no, but they
stuff.
call out big business.
Oh, they do. They call out big business big time.
And they call out their agenda that's happening now.
Yeah.
I just
So some of that stuff's in it.
going back to the Obama movie. I just
You just really didn't like it.
Julia Roberts plays a Karen, and
Yeah, she kinda does. I was a little
she plays a
disappointed by
total
that.
Karen.
Well-
and Ethan Hawke, her husband, plays a total liberal.
Weenie.
I want to say the P word, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, you talk about an emasculated man. That is the character that Ethan Hawke plays, and it's so. I can just tell from the movie and how they put it together that it is so racist and so they make white people.
It is overtly racist.
Yeah,
yes.
they make white people look stupid and racist, obviously, and just
Well, they
out of
imply
touch.
they imply that race is the reason for all inequality.
yep.
Right.
Like they kind of they kind of position that
Not-
idea.
Because that's always been their thing.
Because they don't talk about
yeah, they want to promote that idea.
They've
That,
because
always been
ultimately
and it's just
Wait.
not factually true.
no, inequality comes from ignorance.
Well,
Right.
it comes from opportunity. It comes from skills and abilities and motivation, and
But
people,
ultimately,
in a
people can-
meritocracy, whoever goes out and performs,
Right, but ideally and traditionally in America, anybody is given opportunities to do anything.
yeah.
And we've seen it. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's still off the
America
radar. I think people can still do that.
in America, I think we're
Still not for much longer.
we
but-
have this
No, well-
we have this cultural phenomena in America where we continue to apologize and act and
For being American?
and display guilt over historical
Oh, yeah.
things that have happened that happen way worse in other places.
Oh, yeah.
America's the only country that's still apologizing for it.
Oh, yeah.
We're the only country in which
But
we're still
that's-
expected to apologize and recognize it. But you look
But
at
that's part of the agenda to break us down. divide and conquer.
Of course, there are other places where much worse atrocities have happened throughout history, and everything from Cambodian genocide to, the slavery in the Caribbean.
That's happening now.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at your screen
Why?
right now. Is Biden getting an endorsement from the Kennedy family?
Oh, we should have turned this off.
Oh, should we?
Seriously?
Yeah, Biden receives endorsement from the Kennedy family.
So I guess they're not endorsing RFK Jr.
That's weird.
Isn't it? Interesting.
Yeah.
Deep state.
Interesting. And Biden looks different today.
How many earlobes does he have?
Are
they
RFK, as much as he normally
RFK,
does.
I guess, is playing the disruptor for sure in this year's election.
He's going to take more votes away from Biden than he will from Trump. And I know that they're saying that that's not true, but there's no way.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
that's the media talking.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is.
Okay, what's the next topic?
Well, we've got a few things on here. We've got weather modification. There was that flood in Dubai.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Is that biblical?
That?
I mean, it looks to be.
I wanted to ask you that.
It looks to be.
Yeah, but
I saw your.
Is Dubai or that area even mentioned in the Bible? Because it's not really a.
Yeah, it is.
It hasn't been a population center until they discovered oil.
Yeah,
no, it's definitely part of the Bible.
Is it?
Oh yeah,
it is.
I think it was Samaria.
No, that's more the area north and like toward Kuwait and the Euphrates River and the Tigris. But Dubai is sort of on the side of the Arabian Peninsula, and it's kind of a barren.
So
area.
Here's what
it would be a barren area if there wasn't
it.
So much oil there.
My take on the whole thing. All these chemtrails, they're all the weather modification stuff. Okay,
that they said was a conspiracy theory. I just want to point
that out.
And
they finally came out and
now they're admitting that it really exists.
No, it's real.
Yeah, it's real. Well, they flood a country.
Theorists, where
it's just funny because we're like 0-60 now.
Right. Yeah.
I need a bigger tally board.
So my whole thing with this whole the weather, the rains in Dubai and everything, and they're expecting more. I thought they were supposed to get more yesterday.
Well, it was so flooded that the airplanes were up to the fuselage in the jets at the airport.
Yeah, well, they have buildings, roofs collapsing.
What I'm saying is that this can all be manipulated to make it look like end times, like Revelations. You know what I'm saying? They're
but I think we've been in end times now for
we've been in end times
2 years.
Well, what scares me more than the quote end times is the people that think they can bring it about by just acting out what they read and acting out what they see.
Like the cults and stuff.
Well, I mean,
not the cults. Well,
are you saying cult as in like every religion is technically a cult, or the cults as in like the
I'm gonna
crazy?
Keep my mouth shut on this one.
I mean, no,
like the legitimate.
How are you using the word cult?
I'm not really talking about organized religion. I'm talking about like the ones
the powers that be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not okay.
That's what I think.
I'm talking about the ones that like manipulate the markets.
Well, even popular segments of certain religions are, I think, teaching dangerous ideas.
Well, of course.
And if you have followers that start thinking that they can bring about.
Well, what I'm talking about is more the deep state manipulating the weather to make it look like we are in end times, like to simulate the end times, what the Bible is saying.
What if the Saudis are just trying to like terraform the desert so they can actually grow food? What if that's all it is?
Well, I would think. and
then they went overboard.
I would think
could it just be that
common knowledge that would be newsworthy.
Could it just be that for once?
No,
could it just
it's not.
Could it just be something that simple?
It's not.
Is it ever that simple?
It's never that simple.
Occam's razor.
Sometimes, I don't know.
Never that simple.
Occam's razor. It usually is that simple.
Well, the European farmers don't have a problem growing food. Other than the regulation getting in their way.
Yeah, well.
Have you watched some of the protests in France? And
yeah.
I mean, now
shooting
Poland,
manure all over.
Yeah, they're blocking highways.
That's what we need to do.
Just start firing.
Start shooting manure and
or
people
shooting the shit, right? Yeah.
That gives a new meaning.
Yeah, but it gives a new meaning to shooting the shit.
Yeah, no, it's interesting what's happening over there, though. I mean, have you seen that the...
That's basically what we're doing here anyway, right?
But did you see that the Dubai government is punishing people for cyber crimes that report and post video and pictures of the floods and the damage?
Are you serious?
No, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I didn't know about that.
Well, it's too late because that stuff's already out.
Right, but if you continue to post it and show the damage to their infrastructure and all
well,
this
yeah,
stuff...
because they have an image to maintain that they're a beautiful place to visit and a vacation
Well, that's the thing. It's a cyber crime.
They want... Well, their government is looking at what happens when we run out of oil to sell, and how do we get people to still come to our city? And they are planning for one day their city to be a tourist destination and tourism to drive their economy.
It already is.
Yeah. Well, they've turned it into one, but not if they have these kind of problems.
Well, no. So why do you think they're happening?
But it's basically a giant. I mean, Dubai is basically a giant Disneyland. Okay, it's just this fake kingdom of fake attractions and hokey. Some of the stuff's amazing.
Oh, they have a lot more money than Disney.
Yeah, some of the stuff's amazing, but it's all just this bizarre showmanship for the purpose of drawing attention. That's all it is. It's entertainment.
But it's no different than Las Vegas.
Yeah. I agree. Las Vegas is the same thing.
It's like they're trying to outdo God.
Well, that's going into their religious beliefs and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
I'm just saying that
there's a lot of sheiks that live there that feel like they are God.
Well, like I said, I worry about the crazy people in our country that have come from over there that think that they can bring about
the end of days
prophecy by acting it out on their own. That's what I worry about. That's where I was
going with that.
Well, yeah.
Well,
what's next?
This has been fun. I think we covered everything for tonight, but this has been fun.
Is that everything? Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on that list, but
no, we got through our list and more, but
thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Putting up with us.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Give us a like, a subscribe, share with your friends.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the next video, and thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Bye, guys.